Well, hey everybody, welcome to Practical Church Planting, where in 15 minutes or less we'll give you practical tips, advice, and encouragement to help you plant and grow healthy churches. My name is Brian Androsian, and joining me today is Dylan Dotson.
Hello.
And today we're talking about raising support, specifically raising support for your salary.
Yeah, so we're not talking about fundraising for the church plant. We're talking about specific salaries, so we'll give you some background real quick on both of us. I raised support for a year, turned into a year and a half for a church planting residency that we did before we launched New City Church. For full-time, and then Brian and Brittany, his wife, have also raised their full-time support to work at New City, which is a side note. I think it's really good to know. You don't have to be a lead planner to raise support. Church plants and just churches in general often don't have a lot of extra money, so you can actually raise support to be on staff at a church. You don't have to be the lead planter to do that. So that's how I did it. We raised support. We was working a normal full-time job, had great benefits. We had our first kid. And we decided, hey, what better time to raise support and quit our job and plant a church? So that's what we did, and it was nerve-wracking and terrifying, but God did great things. And then Brian and Brittany recently did that so they could join, well, a little while ago.
Yeah, it was a little while back. And I mean, I'm thankful for you guys and the people here that gave us the advice to raise support, because what we want to do is we want to be in church planting and in kind of a support role, and that is not a paid thing, really, with a church that hasn't planted yet, or a church that's just about to plant. And so if it wasn't for this, we wouldn't be able to, really be in ministry in the capacity of our church.
And that's a great point. A lot of times you don't even think, I can do this. So you don't have to be a lead planner. You can raise support. It's an awesome thing, and the lead planner will love it. So what we want to do is we want to give some advice and some tips that we learned. Yep. And so we'll just go through these. The first thing, the order of importance when it comes to asking people for financial support is in person is always best, not even close. It's the scariest, and no one wants to do it. Always the best. Right. So if they live in your area, you should try to set up a time to meet with them in person. Secondly is on the phone. Thirdly is writing a letter. Letters are the least effective. They're the easiest to do, so that's what everyone wants to do, and then they don't raise enough support. It's because you just wrote letters. So raising a full-time salary or even a part-time salary, but for a year or for a long period of time is different than raising money to go on a mission trip for a week or two, where you used to write letters. So if you want to actually raise your support over a long period of time, you can't just write letters. So in person is always best. Every single person that Christina and I met with, or I met with personally, gave except for one. And not only that most of them not even gave they all gave what we asked, and some of them even gave more, which didn't really happen. A couple of times that happened over the phone. Didn't happen with any letters we sent. So almost not over 90% success rate meeting in person, and many of those people actually gave more than what we asked, which they would not have done if we weren't in person. So that is always the best. If they don't live in your area, try to set up a phone call. And then lastly, you can write a letter. And letters, you can write letters to everyone, even people you barely know. And as you set it up, be honest with people. Like you don't have to. People kind of know what's going on. Say, hey, I'm joining this church plant, or I'm planning this church, trying to raise a support, or I'd love to talk with you about this opportunity and see how you could partner with us. So you don't want to do a bait and switch, but you don't have to tell them you're going to ask them for money. If you say, I want to see how you can partner with us, they know what's happening. So let them kind of know, give them a heads up, and do it. So that is the best. Person's the best. Then phone. Then letter. Second thing. You should double what you think you should ask. So I had great advice and help. One of my mentors worked for Campus Crusade for Christ for over 18 years, and he raised his support the whole time. So he knew a lot about this. He said you should ask double what you should ask. And so what we ended up landing on is we would say too is ask for a specific amount. Because if you don't ask for a specific amount, people won't know what to give, and they'll give a lot less. So we ended up asking for $100 a month for a year, which I was like, who has an extra $100? But I was floored at how many people actually gave $100. And the reason you want to do that is because let's say you ask for 50 and someone wanted to ask for 50 and someone could give you 50, you get $50. So let's say you ask for 25 and if you ask less, let's say you ask for 25 and someone could have given you 50, very rarely are people going to give you more than what you asked for. Let's say someone was willing to give you 50, but you ask for 100, they might say, you know what, we'll do $75. All they can say is no, and people are honestly not offended at all if you over ask. Like if you ask for like $5,000 a month, that's probably not a good idea. Not a good idea, but people are never going to be offended. So double what you think you should ask, and then ask for a specific amount. I asked for $100. Brian, what did you guys ask for?
We asked for $200 actually. $200 a month.
Brian is more faithful than I am, but it really gives people an idea of what's happening now. So that's one of the things I say: ask for a specific amount. Secondly, or thirdly, I don't know where we are on this list. Give a specific timeline. I would say ask for a year, maybe 2. And here's why. If you just say, hey, can you just give us support for this thing? People don't they don't know what the commitment is, and they're not going to give to you forever, and then they feel awkward to stop giving. So if you say, hey, we're going to ask for a year, that's the commitment. People know there's an end date. What you can do, like what we did, we didn't launch the church right away. You can ask people to kind of do it for another year or when it gets closer. Like people aren't going to be surprised by this. but at least they have an out that's not an awkward, hey, we can't support you anymore. And so we had some people that stopped supporting. We had people that continued. We had some people that gave some more. But give them a specific timeline. We asked for a year. Brian, what'd you guys ask for?
We asked for 2 years.
Again, Brian loves Jesus. Loves Jesus.
Yep.
But again, it gives people a specific timeline to know this isn't going to last forever, but they also know it's not just a one-time monthly thing.
Right.
So a specific time is really, really important. We would also say this, that you should send a monthly update to your supporters. So that's what we did in Resupport. That's what you guys are doing now. Because here's the thing. Let's say 30 people commit to give you X amount for a year. At the end of the year, not all 30 people will have given the X amount every month for a year. Things happen. Life happens. You can't do it. But people are much more likely to continue to give if you give them updates of what's going on, not just like 6 months, here's what's happening.
Yeah, I think that's real important, especially if you are asking people who live out of state. Like for us, we have most of our family is back home where we came from, and so they're not here. They can't attend the church. Right. They can't see everything that's going on. All they can see is what's posted on Facebook or what I tell them. So sending that monthly update is a big deal and really brings them into it and lets them be a part of the plant that you're doing.
Yeah, people want to know what their money is going towards. And so if you don't have to like make up all these crazy things that's happening, but just say, here's what's going on. People will continue to give if they see their generosity is making an impact.
And people want to know what's going on. It's not just sending it to them just to give them another thing. People want to know that where their money's going is being put to good use and that you're actually doing something. Yeah.
So absolutely. MailChimp. So I recommend find some monthly email newsletter, get them on the list, let them know what's happening. But we would also say when you ask someone, here's what's really awkward. When you ask, you be quiet when you're done. So you say, hey, I would love for you to consider giving $100 a month for a year. And that's it. Not like, but if you need more time to pray about it, that's fine. Or like if you want to think about it, or if you can do less, that's fine. But like, just don't say anything. And it is super awkward, especially the first few times you do it. But if you talk first, it's kind of like a duel. If you talk first, you're going to lose. Although in a duel, if you shoot first, you win. It's the opposite.
It's like a game of chicken.
Right. Yeah, it's a game of chicken. Don't be the chicken.
Sure.
Yeah, don't be a chicken. Let them think about it because I think sometimes we're scared and we automatically assume people are going to say no, and so we try to reduce it. Like, don't say no for people. Let them decide.
Yep. I think that's great advice. And I think just in the whole that whole situation in general, you need to be careful not to overshare. Church planners are big on casting big vision, which is great, but also big, especially before they launch, of wanting everyone to know all the details and how great things are going to be. And a lot of people don't care about all those details. They want to see your vision. You need to cast some vision, tell them why it's important, but they don't need to know all the statistics of the city that you're in and how many people you're going to reach and stuff like that. They care about your passion and they care about what you're doing, but you can be brief, be short in what you're telling them. Just give them what they need to know.
Yes.
And then be quiet.
That is a great point, and it's the next point. At the end of the day, people give to relationships and people they trust. They don't give to statistics. Like, we know there's people starving all over the world. People need clean water. Like, we know these things. We like to think we're really rational beings, but studies show we are way more emotional, and we make way more emotional decisions than we do rational decisions. Right? And so if you say, here's the reason why we want to, you need to say, here's the reason why we want to plant a church in this area. Here's our vision. That stuff is good. But you just need to be like, hey, the reason we're doing this is to help make an impact here, and talk about what you want to do, but just share a story. Like, people give to the relationship and people that they trust. They don't give to statistics. So yes, you want to have a vision, but just be honest about what you want to do. That's what people will give to. Again, if they know you, they're much more likely to give, which is why, again, I would say in person, in the phone first, second, and then that is third. But that's a great point. I think a lot of times, especially too, because we have the vision, we're working on this stuff, we're thinking about all this time, it can be very overwhelming if you do like a 30-minute presentation on how you're going to do everything. And here's the thing. Once you launch a church or 6 months in, it's going to be different anyway. Right? So it's okay. But that's a great point. It's not about, you want to share some vision, you want to be prepared, but people aren't going to give to that. They're going to give to the relationship and trust. Are you really sincere? Do they think you're going to make a difference? That's what people want to see.
Yep. I think just another thing to add is fundraising and asking for support is kind of a intimidating and scary thing.
Yes.
I mean, it's a big deal. You're asking people to hand over money, and I don't know. I just want to encourage people if you're going into it. When we were starting the process, we met with somebody here at New City a few times. Met with Dylan, obviously. To just get advice, and it was like as it was coming up to the time when we were getting ready to start this process, it was just getting more and more intimidating, and we were just kind of dreading it. We're like, I don't want to ask people for this, but we just kept being encouraged that no one's going to be offended, and they were right. No one we asked was offended. We never had any bad meetings. Not everyone said yes, but the ones who said no had no problem with us asking. And they said no, and we had no problem with them saying no. I mean, we shook hands and it was fine. But there's no bad meetings. There's no bad feelings, anything like that. But at the end of the day, we ended up being just very encouraged and blown away by people's generosity and people's excitement. Some people we told, hey, we're raising support to be on staff were excited that we were raising support. They're like, that's an awesome step. And we were like, really? But yeah, be encouraged. People aren't offended by it, and it's a great thing to do. And it's a great thing, if, especially if you're not in a lead planter position. It's a great opportunity to be in ministry where it might not have been possible any other way.
And here's the thing. Maybe you're not in a lead planter position, but you want to plant in the future.
Yeah.
What was so helpful for us, if we had not raised support for our church planting residency, there's no reason we would have fundraised the necessary funds to plant this church, because we had experience. We knew the discouragement that was going to come our way, and we built a network because we had a bunch of people, had them on an email list. They knew it was coming, so when it was time to talk about the church, it was an easy transition. One other thing we think it's important is you want to give people a deadline, right? So you don't want to just say, hey, I'm raising this amount of money. If you want to give at any time. Yes, you'll take it at any time, but people need to have a sense of urgency. So we started raising money 3 months out before I was going to start at the church for the residency. And we literally, a month out, we had maybe 30 or 40% raise. And I'm like, oh my goodness, we've got a month. And we had talked to most of the people, but people don't give until they need a sense of urgency. So just say, hey, here's when I'm starting. People do not need to know, nor do they really care how much you're raising. You can say things like, excuse me, my target goal, we're trying to hit our goal in a month or by this date. Give them a date that's sooner rather than later so that they can actually make a decision. Otherwise, you give them your information, they throw it away, then they forget about it, right? So you want to give them a day, or you want to give them a specific time so that they can respond.
Yeah.
Also, I think I would say this. We say don't say no for people. Here's the thing. It is hard and it is scary. Different personalities, maybe not as hard or as scary, but nobody likes to ask people for money. Like, it is okay to be intimidated by this, but people, again, they're not offended. They think it's pretty cool. And not only do you, because it's like, well, why should I ask money to give people, why should people give their money for me to do my thing? Well, A, it's not for your thing, it's to advance the kingdom.
Right.
But also it allows you to help disciple people, right? Jesus talks about money more than anything else. It is the number one indicator of whether we trust God or not, what we do with our money. And a lot of people that give to support raising people like over a year or two, whatever your time limit is, might be the very first time that they've given consistently to anything ever. Like maybe they've given to a church once or twice, every once in a while, this organization, this or that, but they've never consistently given. And so you raising money actually gives people the opportunity to be discipled, to grow in their generosity, and to trust God, which is a really, really cool thing.
Yep.
So keep that in mind as well.
I think it's important to remember, like you said, you're not just raising support for this thing. That was the kind of thing that we were encouraged by a lot when we were kind of getting nervous, is you're not asking people to donate. You're not raising support so you can quit your job and, have fun or something like that. It's not, and in reality, you're not even asking for support for yourself. I mean, it's for a specific purpose, and that purpose is to advance the kingdom. So if you keep that in mind, kind of all that fear is never going to go away, but it can start to go away a little bit when you start keeping in mind the ultimate picture isn't just them giving money to you, it's giving money for the church and for the capital C church.
Yeah. And here's the cool thing about raising support. It's hard and it's scary, but man, I think it's a great thing, especially if you want to be involved in church planting. I mean, not that everyone should do it, but I think kind of everyone should try it and be what it's like. Because here's the thing, it'll allow you to see God move in ways that you would have never experienced in other ways. Because it's like, literally, I have no idea if this is going to happen. I'm going to work really hard to raise the support. And it's scary and it's hard and it's super discouraging, but you get to see things that many people never get to see because you're willing to take a step that most people aren't willing to take. Yeah. And so it's really hard, really scary, but you get to see God do some really cool things.
Yep.
So, hey, I'm sure we'll talk about this much more. If you want to, speaking of that, if you want to ask questions for us to cover in future episodes, you can go to practicalplanting.com/questions, and we would love to answer your questions. So head over there. And that'll do it for this time. So we'll see you next time on Practical Church Planting. Hey, thanks for checking out this episode of Practical Church Planting. Make sure you subscribe below so you don't miss future episodes. And also go to practicalplanting.com to submit questions that we can answer.
And if you're tired of looking at our ugly faces, you can listen to these episodes through podcasts, through iTunes or Google Play, and make sure not just to listen, but to also subscribe.
See you next time.